Hello, everyone. Happy Saturday. Welcome to the Path to Purpose virtual retreat. Thank you so much, April, for having me. Obviously, nervous like everybody else is, but I had to pre-record this because I've been sick all week, so I apologize if I sound nasally, but I just want to tell you guys a little bit about my story. And it's interesting because mine and April's relationship or friendship started with finding purpose within your pain. We actually met at a charity event for sarcoma. I lost my husband to sarcoma, and April's amazing son, Tyler, is a sarcoma survivor. And I was talking to April's husband, Billy, and I was telling him about, what my booth was all about and what the Josh Powell Foundation was. And I was telling him that, part of the way that I've been able to survive my husband's loss is through finding purpose within my pain. And for me, that's been through helping others who are going through similar situations that Josh and I went through. So that's kind of just a little bit about me. Josh and I met on a girls' trip. Well, I was on a girls' trip visiting Nashville from Southern California, and Josh had just been stationed at Fort Campbell, and we both happened to end up at the same bar downtown Nashville on Broadway, and the rest was history. I went back to California, and Josh ended up just continuing to reach out to me, and we started FaceTiming and dating long distance and fell in love really quickly. And 2 months into us falling in love, Josh was diagnosed with synovial sarcoma. So long story short, I ended up flying back and forth to Nashville a handful of times, meeting his family, and he came to California to meet mine, and I came back and just decided that it'd be easier for me to live in Nashville and to love him in the same state. So I moved to Nashville 5 months after we met, and we shared 2 extraordinary years together. And unfortunately, cancer stole Josh's life just 1 month after we were married. And if you want to learn more about our story, I don't want to bore you with it, especially for those of you who have already heard it, but you can always go to joshpowellfoundation.org, and there's plenty of information there to learn more about the story. But all that to say, for me, finding purpose has meant everything to life after loss. And right now, to make it relevant for what a lot of us are going through right now, is the holiday blues, right? So for a lot of us, the holidays are all about spending time with family and those that you love. And if you're somebody who has lost somebody who is in that inner circle, it can be a very painful time of year. I lost Josh on December 13th of 2016. So we're coming into year number 4 next Sunday. And I'm sorry, I have 2 French bulldogs and they're snoring in the background, so I apologize if you can hear that. But going into year 4 and just having that loss be around the holidays is really tough. Just having to spend the holidays without him is tough, but then to have the anniversary around that time, it's been tough as well. So what I wanted to talk about today is just some of the struggles that I've been dealing with and what I've kind of done to overcome them, and also just to people out there who have friends who have experienced loss and don't know how to be there for their loved ones, or what to do around the holidays. We can just kind of chat about that. So one of the biggest things that I've learned after losing my husband is the ability to teach people how to be there for me. So I think it's a little unfair to expect people who have never experienced a situation similar to yours to just know what the right thing to do is. And part of that is everyone who experiences grief, their needs are all different. So I can't give you like one cookie cutter way to be there for your friend who lost somebody, but I can give you an idea of what has been helpful for me. And part of that is just letting my people know that I enjoy talking about Josh. It brings me a lot of joy being able to remember him. And so letting my people know that it's okay to bring him up and to ask questions and to ask, what he was like. I mean, there's a lot of people in my life who never had an opportunity to meet him or to love him. And the best way for them to be able to do that is through me, through my memories and being able to share those with the people that are close to me and even perfect strangers. So that's just kind of a tip is if you're someone who has lost someone, make sure you're teaching your people how to treat you and how you like to be comforted. And also for people who, know somebody who is experiencing loss, don't be afraid to ask, how can I show up for you? What can I do? I think the worst thing that people can do is just not say anything at all. You feel like the elephant in the room, and it's not anyone's fault that they do that, but I think people are just scared to say the wrong thing. So around the holidays specifically, I have a widow friend that I follow on social media who I've followed her story for a very long time now. And she always has this really great tip around the holidays. But when you're sending out your Christmas cards, make sure if you're sending a Christmas card to someone who has just experienced an extraordinary loss or the loss of a family member or a spouse or a child specifically, instead of just sending them your generic Christmas card, that can be extremely painful, write a handwritten note to them. Or if it doesn't feel appropriate to send them a picture of your happy family when they're experiencing something so excruciatingly painful, just send them a handwritten note. And it takes, such a short period of time to do that, but will go a long way for that person, just to know that you're empathizing with their grief and their loss, and not sending them a card at all, but sending them something that's personally written to them and acknowledging the fact that they know that the holidays are going to be really hard for you. So that's just a tip for kind of this time of year, and just allowing people to be there for you. For me, it's that's something that's very challenging. I like to kind of deal with my grief on my own a lot of the times, and I think it's because I'm such a positive, upbeat person typically, that when I'm having a down moment or a down week or a down day, I don't like to bring other people down with me. So it's hard for me to open up that door and let people know that I'm struggling, and then, allowing them to see me be vulnerable. And I have no problem being vulnerable as far as like talking about vulnerability, but as far as like breaking down and crying and feeling like I'm spiraling, that's not like the first thing that I think of is like, let me call someone and let them sit on the phone and watch me spiral. So I've been better about that. Specifically this week, I've had a hard week, and just talking to friends on the phone and letting the tears just fall out of my eyes and, feeling so much better after and feeling so much less alone. A tip that I often give is make a list of your people, like your go-to people that you feel safe breaking down with, you feel safe being vulnerable with, and that they're your ride or die people. Make that list when you're having a really good day and you're like, oh, I'm so grateful for the amazing people in my life, because I promise you this happens without fail. You're gonna have a bad day, and all of those people are gonna completely leave your mind, and you're gonna forget how loved you are and how many people you have in your corner who want to love on you and support you, specifically when you're having a hard time. And I find that I could be in a room filled with so many people and feel so alone. And that's kind of what grief and loss does to you a lot of the time, because you feel so misunderstood, or you have all these people who love you, but you're missing such a huge piece of your heart that you just feel that loneliness very often, especially in the beginning. So for me, writing down those people, I actually have a list of people written on my mirror in my bedroom. So when I'm having a hard time and I feel so alone, I look at that list and I'm like, what are you talking about? You're not alone. Like, you have all these amazing people who, if you called, would be there for you in a heartbeat. So I highly recommend doing that, writing down a list of your people for when you have those really, really hard days. And also lately, I've just been feeling like, gosh, I just can't catch a break. I think a lot of us probably feel that way because of everything that's going on in 2020 and the pandemic and all kinds of different layers of chaos that we're all kind of going through. And I think one thing that helps me keep my head on straight is perspective. I've had a lot of things on my plate this week and this past month, and on top of, losing my husband 4 years ago, which still is painful. I think some days I'm like, why do I keep having more and more things that keep getting added to my plate that just seems so unimaginable? It's just remembering that your worst day is a day that somebody else is wishing or praying for, and that it could always be worse. And that's not to say that you shouldn't sometimes, feel sorry for yourself, or not even feel sorry for yourself, but, have a moment where you're just overwhelmed and you break down and you do wonder why, like, how am I going to get through this day? You just can't get stuck there, and always remembering that it could always be worse, And with the work that I do with my nonprofit supporting newly diagnosed cancer patients and their families, I'm able to snap back into that perspective very often and realize that I'm so lucky to have the struggles that I have and not have struggles that are worse or out of my control, and that, I'm healthy and I have friends and family who love me, and I have a job and a roof over my head and air in my lungs. It's just the basics. And with that is gratitude, perspective and gratitude. I think those will always pull you back into a place where you're not going to get stuck in the why me or the poor me or the pity party. So those are some things that I've been dealing with lately that I hope will be helpful for you if you're struggling, or anybody who's struggling. Maybe those things will be helpful. I know April and I were talking this morning, and I had a little breakdown just talking about some personal stuff that I'm going through, and she said just the simple definition of faith, and which is believing in the things that you can't see. And that honestly brought tears to my eyes, because it's just such a simple thing, believing in the things that you can't see. It's something I do on a daily basis. I believe that my husband is in heaven and is no longer in pain, and that he's there waiting for me when, I get called home, and that I will get to see him again, and believing that he is watching over me every step of the way, and that no matter what, he's going to make sure that I experience love again, and that I find true happiness again. And I see him in so many people that have come into my life since he's passed away, and I always know immediately when it's someone that he sent specifically. And April being one of those people, it's all you really need to find hope, to be able to keep going and to find purpose and reason for you still being here, and being able to do good in other people's lives while you're hurting. Just, it sounds crazy, but it's been the most therapeutic thing for me to be able to find purpose within the excruciatingly painful situations that I've been through, and being able to give purpose to Josh's death. You know, he was taken from this earth at the age of 27 years old. He was an Army Ranger. He played linebacker for Army. He was the most resilient, extraordinary person that I've ever known, and he never lost at anything. And he fought against sarcoma to the best of his ability, better than I could have ever fought any sort of disease like that, with the best attitude. And just, he was never a victim. He never let cancer steal anything from him. And so for him to die and to just have it be that, you know, and to not create this legacy that can help others and make it so that his death wasn't for nothing, I couldn't imagine not having that purpose in my life. I don't know where I would be or what I would be doing. For me, it's been everything to find that purpose. And I think if we all dig deep enough and we try and figure out how we can create something positive out of something painful or something heartbreaking or some sort of struggle in our lives, then I think we have it figured out. You know, I think that's what life is just ebbs and flows of pain and struggle and joy and happiness. And you have to find the purpose. I think that's the key. So I know today you're going to hear a lot about how to do that. April has an incredible book that you'll hear about, that she just talks about a lot of the things that I believe in, and, you know, leaning into faith and friendship and purpose in order to get through the hardest days of your life. So that's kind of my 2 cents. I know it was a little all over the place today, but just something that has been weighing heavy on my heart this week that I hope has enlightened you in some way. I hope you walk away inspired, or just with a little pearl that will help you be a better friend to somebody who's lost somebody, or hopefully a little pearl that might help you get through your hard week or your hard day. So I hope you guys enjoy today's retreat. It's going to be absolutely incredible. And again, thank you so much, April, for having me. And if you want to learn more about the Josh Powell Foundation or mine and Josh's love story, you can go to joshpowellfoundation.org. And I hope that I have an opportunity to get to know you guys a little bit better in the future. Have a great day.